You are what you do, not what you say you will do. Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people. Every form of addiction is bad. No matter whether the narcotic be alcohol, morphine or idealism. The pendulum of the mind oscillates between sense and nonsense, not between right and wrong. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. Loneliness does not come from having no people about one, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to oneself. Or from holding certain views which others find inadmissible. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. The most terrifying thing is to accept honesty completely. Show me a sane man and I will cure him for you. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. No tree, it is said, can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell. The stakes are, after all, the foundations of truth, and if a man does not know what a thing is, it is at least an increase in knowledge if he knows what it is not. As far as we can discern, the sole purpose of human existence is to kindle a light of meaning in the darkness of mere being. Whatever is rejected from the self appears in the world as an event. Thinking is difficult, that's why most people judge. How can I be substantial if I do not cast a shadow? I must have a dark side also if I am to be whole. We cannot change anything unless we accept it. Where wisdom reigns, there is no conflict between thinking and feeling. The greatest tragedy of the family is the unlived lives of the parents. There is no coming to consciousness without pain. The healthy man does not torture others. Generally it is the tortured who turns into torturers. Man need difficulties, they are necessary for health. The shoe that fits one pinches another, there is no recipe for living that suits all cases. A man who has not passed through the inferno of his passions has never overcome them. Through pride we are ever deceiving ourselves. But deep down below the surface of the average conscience a still, small voice says to us, something is out of tune. If there is anything that we wish to change in a child, we should first examine it and see whether it is not something that could better be changed in ourselves. The least of things with a meaning is worth more in life than the greatest of things without it. We deem those happy who from the experience of life have learned to bear its ills without being overcome by them. The man who promises everything is sure to fulfill nothing, and everyone who promises too much is in danger of using evil means in order to carry out his promises and is already on the road to perdition. Dreams are the guiding words of the soul. Why should I henceforth not love my dreams and not make their riddling images into objects of my daily consideration? Resistance to the organized mass can be effected only by the man who is as well organized in his individuality as the mass itself. It depends on how we look at things and not how they are in themselves. Even a happy life cannot be without a measure of darkness, and the word happy would lose its meaning if it were not balanced by sadness. It is far better to take things as they come along with patience and equanimity. We cannot change anything until we accept it. Condemnation does not liberate, it oppresses. Your vision will become clear only when you look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams, who looks inside, awakes. A particularly beautiful woman is a source of terror. As a rule, a beautiful woman is a terrible disappointment. Where love rules, there is no will to power, and where power predominates, the love is lacking. The one is the shadow of the other. Knowledge rests not upon truth alone, but upon error also. We are born at a given moment, in a given place, and, like vintage years of wine, we have the qualities of the year and the season of which we are born. Astrology does not lay claim to anything more. The creation of something new is not accomplished by the intellect, but by the play instinct acting from inner necessity. The creative mind plays with the objects it loves. If one does not understand a person, one tends to regard him as a fool. The most intense conflicts, if overcome, leave behind a sense of security and calm that is not easily disturbed. It is just these intense conflicts and their conflagration which are needed to produce valuable and lasting results. The greatest and most important problems of life are all fundamentally insoluble. They can never be solved but only outgrown. The human being would certainly not grow to be 70 or 80 years old if this longevity had no meaning for the species. The afternoon of human life must also have a significance of its own and cannot be merely a pitiful appendage to life's morning. It is a fact that cannot be denied. The wickedness of others becomes our own wickedness because it kindles something evil in our own hearts. Who has fully realized that history is not contained in thick books but lives in our very blood? The debt we owe to the play of imagination is incalculable. I have treated many hundreds of patients. Among those in the second half of life, that is to say over 35, there has not been one whose problem in the last resort was not that of finding a religious outlook on life. We should not pretend to understand the world only by the intellect. The judgment of the intellect is only part of the truth. Understanding does not cure evil, but it is a definite help inasmuch as one can cope with a comprehensible darkness. Children are educated by what the grown-up is and not by his talk. All the works of man have their origin in creative fantasy. What right have we then to depreciate imagination?